Must see? She'll never see you the same after you do this once. Modern Stoic. Love isn't about grand gestures, it's about subtlety and sincerity. Anonymous. Welcome back. You didn't come for the usual fluff or tired advice. You're here because you know that true power doesn't come from shouting the loudest. It comes from being quietly, unmistakably present. You've realized that the men who leave a lasting impression are rarely those who seek attention, but those who understand themselves fully and hold their ground. In this session, we're not going to discuss tricks, gifts, or dramatic displays. Instead, we're about to uncover a single action, one so poised and composed, so effortlessly powerful, that it will change how a woman sees you forever. Not through an attempt to impress, but by revealing a side of you that is untouchable and unforgettable. Take a deep breath, slow your pace, and prepare to master something far more impactful than you've ever considered. Because once you learn this, you'll no longer feel the need to prove yourself. Number 1. The power of one silent move that redefines you. There comes a point in every man's life when he realizes the true weight of presence, and that it speaks louder than any words or grand gestures ever could. Gifts get forgotten, passion wanes, and words often fall flat. But your presence, that remains. You see, the key isn't about impressing her with fancy dinners, sweet texts, or exaggerated flattery. It's simpler, more powerful than that, a single silent move rooted in self-restraint that will change how she sees you, not just for the night, but forever. This isn't some trick or manipulation. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not to win her over. It's about becoming so deeply aligned with yourself that her perception of you has no choice but to shift. You stop being the man who desperately seeks her approval and start becoming the man she can't quite figure out, which is exactly the man she can't forget. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, overexpressive emotions, and the constant need for validation, this might sound counterintuitive, but here's the truth. What draws a woman in is not your availability, it's your mystery. It's not about pouring your heart out in declarations. It's about having the self-discipline to keep your emotions in check. The modern Stoic understands this completely. It all starts with a single moment. One moment where she expects you to react. She's testing you, pushing your buttons with sarcasm, distance, or passive-aggressive comments. She wants you to chase, to plead, to explain, to fix, but not you. No, you stand still, calm, collected, silent. Imagine it. She throws a sharp comment your way, looking for a rise. Most men will fall into the trap, defending themselves, justifying their actions, explaining themselves away, but not you. You don't flinch, you don't raise your voice, you don't blink an eye. You smile ever so slightly, not because you're dismissing her, but because you're anchored in something she doesn't understand. That stillness, that unshakable control over your own emotions, disrupts her narrative. In her world, men chase, they react, they try to win her over, to fix things, to prove themselves. But you, the modern Stoic, do the opposite. You allow the moment to pass. You don't compete, you don't correct, you don't argue. You simply are. And it's in that exact moment, when you remain unfazed, that you become unpredictable, intriguing, irresistible. Why? Because people crave what they can't control. And suddenly, she realizes she can't control you. She doesn't understand you. And that, my friend, is when the shift happens. Not in her opinion of you, but in her emotional attachment. You've unknowingly started to stir something deeper within her. The old Stoic philosophers like Epictetus emphasized that true freedom comes from within, and freedom begins with restraint. You don't react out of fear. You don't react because you're afraid of losing her. You don't react because you need to be liked. You react because you are free from the emotional roller coaster that drags so many men down. The blessing of Stoicism lies in mastering this freedom. The silent move, the act of not reacting when she expects you to, is not a weakness. No, it's a quiet, powerful strength. And here's the beauty of it as she watches you remain calm and unaffected. She no longer sees you as the man who will orbit her moods. She sees you as the man whose mood rules his own world. And that is the moment the tables begin to turn. Whether she knows it or not, she begins to chase you, the man who's no longer seeking her validation, but instead living within his own quiet, powerful control. Number 2, the power of walking away without a word. There's a silence that speaks louder than any argument ever could. It's not the silence of surrender, not the silence of defeat. It's the silence of self-respect. The moment you grasp the true power of not reacting, you move to the next level of masculine strength, the silent withdrawal. This moment comes when she begins to play games, when her attention becomes inconsistent, her message is unclear, and her presence feels more like a strategy than a connection. She wants you to chase her. She wants you to ask, "What's wrong?" She wants to see you lose your balance, desperately searching for reassurance that you still care. But instead of scrambling for clarity, you walk away. No anger, no drama, just peace. No message, no explanation, no emotional closure. Why does this work? Because for someone who's expecting emotional fireworks, your absence is a thunderclap. It shakes the very foundation she thought was rock solid. The idea that she had control over your reactions. When you disappear, you disrupt the pattern. You break the script in her mind, and she's forced to rewrite it. In this silent withdrawal, you stop playing the game. You stop proving yourself, begging for answers, chasing after her attention. You stop giving away your dignity. You, the modern Stoic man, understand that peace is far more valuable than her confusion. You know that your presence should never be wasted in a space that no longer honors you. This isn't about detachment. It's about depth. It's about understanding that your energy is sacred, and you won't waste it on someone who can't appreciate it. As Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In the realm of relationships, this means you don't stoop to her level. You don't mirror her game, so you rise above them. You remain true to yourself, never losing your composure. You choose peace over chaos, and in doing so, you rise above the emotional roller coaster that many men get trapped in. This is a classic Stoic lesson. True strength lies in restraint. When most men feel neglected or manipulated, they react desperately. They try to prove their worth by begging for answers or seeking validation. In the process, they hand over their power. But you, as a man who understands Stoicism, don't fall into that trap. Your power lies in your silence. Your absence speaks louder than words ever could. You don't need to prove yourself to her. You don't need to convince her of your value. You let your absence do the talking. You may not get an immediate response. She may not realize it right away, but eventually, your silence will echo in her mind. She'll start to wonder, why did he stop? Did I push him too far? Was I too much? Did I lose something I didn't even know I had? And in that moment, you've transformed from a man who needed her into a man she needs to understand. You've created the space for her to reflect. to realize that you're no longer the man who will chase after her. You are now the man who chooses himself. Walking away isn't about punishing her. It's not about teaching her a lesson. It's about protecting your own soul. It's about refusing to fight for space in a world that tries to shrink you. You send a silent message when you disappear without warning. I am not here to be tolerated. I am here to be chosen. And if I'm not, then I choose myself. This is the Stoic life in action. It's a reflection of the ancient wisdom that teaches us to value our peace over emotional drama, to rise above petty games, and to never lose ourselves in the process. Your silence isn't a weakness, it's strength, it's maturity. And if she's the right one, she'll return with a new understanding, with a renewed sense of respect. But if she doesn't, your silence has saved you from years of unnecessary emotional noise. The Stoic man knows that his value cannot be diminished by anyone else's actions. You protect your soul, you choose your peace, and in doing so, you create space for the right relationship to unfold, or to end if necessary. If this message resonates with you, like, comment below, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom. Comment to remember I choose peace over games. Number 3, make her wait and feel the weight of your absence. In today's world, where instant gratification rules, the man who controls his time and holds his ground becomes magnetic. We live in an age where constant availability is expected, where the urge to respond immediately and rearrange one's life for others is almost a reflex. But here's the truth: the more you rush to please, the more predictable, convenient, and ultimately replaceable you become. When you drop everything at the slightest sign of interest or rearrange your schedule to fit someone else's needs, you lose a part of your power. You relinquish control over your own time, and in doing so, you become emotionally invisible. Women, and people in general, value what they can't have on demand. You must learn the art of absence. You must make her feel the weight of your absence. Not out of arrogance, but because your time is sacred. When you make her wait, you are shifting the entire dynamic of the relationship. This isn't about playing games or being distant for the sake of being difficult. It's about being a man who respects himself enough to not rush to fulfill someone else's need for validation. This is the essence of the Stoic principles. The Stoics, such as Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, knew that patience and control over one's emotions were the keys to mastering life. As Marcus Aurelius put it, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. A man who can control his impulses and resist the urge to rush is a man who chooses his path with wisdom and clarity. He is not controlled by external forces, but moves deliberately toward his goals and his mission. Think about it. How often do you respond to messages, texts, or calls without a second thought? How often do you change your schedule because someone needs you right now? This behavior, while seemingly harmless, sends a message that your time isn't worth much. You're putting your needs, your focus, your plans on hold to serve someone else. In essence, you are saying that your presence is a commodity. But a man who values his time, who prioritizes his goals, does not behave this way. He is not easily available. He has set his own priorities, and his time is valuable. This is where the magic happens. When you make her wait, you are subtly shifting the energy in the relationship. Instead of constantly chasing her approval, you are making it clear that she must earn your attention. You're not trying to make her feel ignored, but rather to build anticipation. You are teaching her that your time is precious. When you delay your response and when you don't drop everything to make yourself available, you send a powerful message. You are showing her that you are a man of principle. As Seneca wisely said, He who is everywhere is nowhere. If you are always available, if you constantly rearrange your life to be at someone's beck and call, you are emotionally invisible. You are not living with intention or purpose. Your life has become an endless loop of reaction rather than a focused journey of creation. This principle is the cornerstone of modern Stoic thought. You must never forget that your time is sacred. When she texts, you don't have to rush to reply immediately. You don't have to drop everything to accommodate her. You can be polite, respectful, and kind, but you are not beholden to anyone's schedule. Your response might take a few hours or even a day. When she asks to meet, you don't cancel your plans, your workout, or your mission. You stand firm in your boundary. You respond calmly, saying, "I'm free later. Let's talk then." You've just made it clear that your life doesn't revolve around her. She isn't your priority at that moment. Your goals, your mission, your well-being are. This, my friend, is a display of power. You are not desperate for her attention. You are not a man who constantly seeks validation. You are a man who chooses when and how he shows up, and that is a powerful energy. Women can sense this. They may not always verbalize it, but they feel it. A man who doesn't rush to please, who doesn't jump to accommodate, is a man who commands respect. He is the opposite of predictable. He is the man who values his time and his solitude. And that is precisely what makes him attractive. It is not ego that drives him, but self-discipline. And this is where your power lies. By slowing down and reframing how you interact with her, you are no longer one of many men chasing her attention. You become the one she must qualify for. Feminine energy thrives on challenge, but not on conflict. It's the pursuit, the mystery, the tension that creates attraction. When you make her wait, you create space for her to experience the contrast between your presence and absence. She begins to value your presence, not because it's always available, but because it's something rare and meaningful. This concept isn't about manipulation or playing hard to get. It's about creating the right energy. When you make her wait, you are presenting yourself as a reward for patience. You are not a man who gives everything away. You are a man who gives meaning to his presence. The delay, the pause, is a psychological tool that creates curiosity. It makes her wonder what you're doing, who you're with, and what's on your mind. And instead of feeling ignored, she feels challenged, intrigued, and drawn to you. This is the power of absence. When you don't immediately react, you shift the balance of power. She starts thinking about you, checking your story, wondering why you haven't replied. You've gone from being emotionally available to emotionally mysterious, and that shift creates an irresistible allure. As a man, you must understand this real masculine energy is not about availability, it's about priority. When you make your time sacred, when you show the world that your time is yours and you won't waste it on trivial matters, you force others to recognize that value. You become a man of purpose, a man of intention, a man who is not swayed by the whims of others. And as you embrace this principle, you'll notice something profound when you return to her after creating that space. It's not to impress her. You don't return as someone who was waiting for her to reach out. You return as a man who chose to be present. You chose to connect with her, not because you needed her validation, but because you wanted to share something meaningful. You've reframed the dynamic. You are no longer the man who is emotionally available at every moment. You are the man who is worthy of her attention, and she must earn it. So let her wait. Let her feel the absence of your validation. When you return, do so not as a man seeking approval, but as a man who commands respect. Real masculinity isn't about being available at all times. It's about prioritizing your own purpose, your goals, and your time. And the more you honor your time, the more she will honor your presence. This is the power of the Stoics. They knew that self-discipline, patience, and control over one's emotions were the foundation of true power. By embracing this, you'll never be seen the same way again. She will see you for the man you truly are. Strong, purposeful, and in control. Number 4, say no without explaining, and watch her respect you more. At some point in every relationship, you'll find yourself facing a moment of pressure. Maybe it's a request to cancel plans, or perhaps it's a more subtle demand to compromise your values, your time, your energy, or even your money. Whatever the case, how you respond will reveal everything about you. If you hesitate, if you justify yourself, or if you say yes just to keep the peace, you might win her approval in the short term, but you'll lose her respect for far longer. Why? Because women, even if they don't consciously say it, are drawn to men with a spine. It's not just about having a heart, it's about standing firm. A man with a spine knows how to say no. No apology, no explanation, just quiet, grounded clarity. Here's the thing: when you explain yourself too much, you're handing over your power. You're essentially saying, I need you to understand me, so you don't leave. That's not masculine energy, that's fear disguised as politeness. It's a far cry from the modern Stoic way of being, where your peace and integrity aren't for sale, not even for her. A modern Stoic knows that when you say no with firm resolve, without over-explaining, you immediately shift the dynamic. She sees you're not swayed by emotional manipulation, guilt trips, or mood swings. She recognizes that your peace, your principles, and your values are non-negotiable, not even for beauty. Now, this is what paradoxically draws her in. You're no longer the man who melts under pressure. You become the mountain she must climb. Marcus Aurelius, the old Stoic, once said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In relationships, your boundaries aren't walls to shut others out. They're pathways to draw the right people closer. By saying no without drama, you aren't rejecting her. You're protecting your peace, and by extension, hers. Real connection isn't based on sacrifice, it's based on standards. The modern Stoic understands this at the core. The next time she asks for something that doesn't align with your values or your sense of self, don't argue. Don't defend yourself. Simply breathe and say no. That's all you need to do. Let her feel the quiet power in your response. That silence, filled with self-assurance, will be far more unforgettable than any words you could say. A man who refuses to betray his principles, no matter the situation, is the man who earns not just her approval, but her trust. Number 5, pull her close, then let go. There's a kind of touch that leaves no fingerprints. A type of closeness that makes someone yearn for you even when you're standing right in front of them. It happens in a single moment. A moment when you pull her in, let her feel your presence, and then gently let go. Not because you're distant, but because you're in control. You've mastered something that 99% of men never will: the ability to hold back. Not from fear, but from strength. This is the Stoic life. It's not about giving endlessly, but about knowing when to pull back and create space. Most men mistakenly believe that winning a woman's heart requires constant giving. More affection, more words, more time. They chase, they offer, they indulge, thinking that the more they give, the more they'll receive. But the truth is, what truly ignites a woman's deepest longing is not abundance, but restraint. It's the man who kisses her forehead, offers a quiet smile, and walks away. It's the man who listens fully, holds her just a little longer than expected, then lets her go without uttering a single word. That is the heart of Stoicism, mastering emotional sovereignty. Why does this work? Because this man isn't ruled by desire, he's not driven by the need to feel wanted. Instead, he's driven by principle. He understands that true connection isn't about overextending, but about maintaining control. He doesn't give in to the rush of the moment just to feel needed. He creates a tension, not to manipulate her, but to remind her that he is whole, even in silence, and that my friend is electric. The Stoic lessons are clear restraint. Discipline and presence are more captivating than indulgence. Carl Jung once wrote, "Only the paradox comes anywhere close to comprehending the fullness of life." In this paradox of presence and distance, of intensity and discipline, a woman encounters a mystery that she can't define. This is the essence of the Stoic life, the balance of being fully present and yet knowing when to step back. This dynamic creates a magnetic pull that keeps her coming back for more. She can't quite understand it, but she feels it. She feels the power of your restraint. When you can resist the urge to consume her energy, when you can give without clinging, and love without losing yourself, you show her something few men ever do: emotional sovereignty. You show her that you don't need to own her attention. You don't seek to fill a void with her presence. Instead, you offer a connection from a place of fullness, knowing that she will step forward when she's ready. That's when real power lies, not in chasing, but in knowing that you are enough as you are. That short embrace, that half smile just before you turn away, lingers. It haunts me. It stays with her long after the moment has passed because it tells a story not of neediness, but of depth. In those brief seconds, you've created an experience she can't easily forget. A man who can pull her close, then walk away, leaves a lasting impact, not because of what he gave him, but because of what he didn't. And that's the art of emotional restraint. That's the power of Stoicism. Be the man who knows how to pull back just enough to leave her wanting more and watch her never see you the same again. If you found this powerful, like the video, share it with a brother who needs this wisdom, and subscribe for more content on emotional mastery and modern masculinity. Comment to remember I lead with presence, not need. Drop that in the comments to remind yourself and others that real power lies in restraint, not in pursuit. Stay grounded, stay sovereign. Number 6, the final message: becoming the man she can't forget. Becoming the man she can't forget is about more than just making an impression. It's about cultivating an inner power that speaks louder than words or gestures. There's a rare strength that emanates from a man who knows his worth and refuses to be swayed. It's a power that is felt in the spaces between your words, in the calm that resides in your eyes, and in the boundaries you set, not as a form of punishment, but as a way to protect your own peace. This power is not something you have to chase or explain. It is not something you beg for or apologize for. It simply is. And in a world where so many men are desperate for validation, approval, or attention, you will become the man who stands out, not by forcing yourself to be noticed, but by honoring yourself. You won't need to convince anyone of your worth because your silence will do the talking for you. This is the essence of Stoic principles. In the face of chaos and demands, you remain unmoved. When others scramble for approval or chase fleeting comforts, you remain rooted in your discipline. The moments that define you are often the ones where you do nothing, where you do not engage with provocation, where you walk away instead of pleading for attention, where you say no without fear of losing anything. These aren't acts of withdrawal, they are acts of presence. Every time you refuse to chase or beg for her attention, you're telling her, "I am not here to be consumed, I am here to be respected." This calm strength is magnetic. It's the very thing that makes her start to wonder about you. Replay your words in her mind and realize that your absence speaks louder than anyone else's presence. While others are clamoring for attention, your silence becomes your most powerful tool. Your distance becomes more intimate than any affection. Your lack of need for validation or approval is something she cannot ignore. This principle is at the core of Stoic philosophy. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. As Marcus Aurelius famously said, "You do not need to perform, explain, or manipulate. You do not need to bend yourself into something you're not. You must live with discipline, act with integrity, and walk with clarity. Your stillness will speak louder than any game she may play. Your boundaries will reflect your worth, and your restraint will evoke curiosity in a way that needs no justification." This is what makes you unforgettable, not by chasing or begging, but by honoring yourself and standing firm in your own identity. The power of self-mastery cannot be overstated. It is the foundation of your success in relationships, in life, and in your own personal growth. When you embody Stoic love, love that is not based on need, but on the fullness of your own being, you stop trying to extract something from others. You stop seeking validation, and instead, you focus on becoming the kind of man who demands respect without saying a word. The truth is, it's not what you say that changes how she sees you. It's what you withhold, the energy, the time, the effort, that makes her view you in an entirely new light. The very things most men give away without thinking become the things you reserve for yourself. And that is what makes you stand apart. If you've ever had a moment when you didn't need to say anything, yet the woman in your life couldn't stop thinking about you, then you understand the depth of this principle. It's the quietest men who often leave the loudest echoes. Your absence becomes a presence, and that is what leaves a lasting impression. She starts to wonder why you don't chase her, why you don't need her approval, why you don't bend to her will. This is when the shift happens. The power dynamic is flipped, when she realizes that you are not waiting for her love, that you are not pleading for her affection. She begins to see you in a new light. You are no longer just another man trying to be loved. You are the man who stands tall within love, without needing to lean. This is what makes you irresistible. In a world full of noise and chaos, your silence becomes the loudest statement you can make. In a world where most men have weak boundaries, your firm no becomes sacred. In a world where everyone is trying to be seen, your absence makes you stand out. This is the paradox you must understand the moment you stop chasing her. You will find that she begins to chase you. It is the act of choosing yourself, of no longer needing anyone else to complete you, that makes you truly powerful. This is what emotional independence is about. It's not about pretending that you don't care. It's about realizing that you don't need to be chosen to feel complete. This is what Stoic love looks like. It is rooted in the belief that you are already whole, that your happiness and self-worth are not contingent on someone else's approval or attention. When you understand this, you will walk through life with an unshakable sense of self that no one can disturb. Here's a challenge for you. 1 week. Just 1 week of not seeking validation, of living a life so rich and full of purpose that anyone who enters it must rise to meet you. Build a life so compelling that it becomes magnetic. Stop looking for others to validate your worth. When you do this, watch what happens. Watch how the women around you respond differently. Watch how the energy shifts. If you felt the power of this message, if you understand what it means to master yourself and let your boundaries define you, drop a comment below. Stand tall and do not shrink for love. In fact, expand in silence. This is your path. To become the man who doesn't need to be loud to be remembered. To become the man who leaves an unforgettable mark on the world and on the women who cross your path. You must stay grounded, stay powerful, and lead with silence. This is how you will become the man she can't forget. Well, that's all for today's video. Folks, if you found this valuable or it sparked something in you, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. Every like, share, and subscription means a lot and helps me keep bringing you the best content on personal growth, Stoicism, and so much more. I'd also love to hear from you. What did you think of the video? Do you agree with the ideas we discussed, or do you have your own insights to add? If you've got any feedback or thoughts on how you apply Stoic principles in your life, feel free to share them in the comments below. This is a place where we can all learn from each other, so don't be shy about jumping into the discussion. Remember, the power to change your perspective and transform how you live lies within your hands. Every time you apply even one small shift, it starts making a huge difference. So take these ideas to heart and trust that they'll shape the way you approach your relationships and your life moving forward. Thank you for sticking with me until the end. I really appreciate your time, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Until then, stay strong, stay wise, and keep living with intention.